Come take a trip in my airship. Come take a sail among the stars. Come have a ride around Venus. Come have a spin around Mars. No one to us while we're busy. No one to see while we...
Greetings, loyal women. Don't be surprised, but we're back. All right. This is Captain Ron Fortier of the good Airship27, here along with my pal and co-host, Chief Engineer Rob Davis. How's it going, amigo?
Well, I think I'm about 4 months older than the last time we spoke. I have had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, as you and some of our airmen know. I am now in 7 decades. I've turned 70, so we're moving right along.
Welcome to the club, my friend.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm 8 years behind you.
Yeah,
you're leading the way.
I'll be 78 in November.
Right. Okay.
Still haven't figured out how that happened, but you know.
But you blink and your kids grow up and then you're suddenly 80. Boom.
Our oldest, that November, like as the start of November, I turned 78. All right. And our oldest granddaughter, Rob, turns 30. It's going by so fast. It's like you want to grab life and say, slow down a little bit. Give me a chance, catch up here, you know?
Exactly. But that's the way of life. It's the circle of life. Okay, yeah, we're running on the treadmill. Oh, okay. So looks like your turn to start off with the bad jokes. So
right.
Have you got one ready?
I have one ready. It's an oldie that I'd seen a long time ago, but since we haven't done a show in months, okay. I'm wondering if maybe I've never, brought it up here. So we're going to give it a shot. All right.
Well, and if it's a repeat, so be it.
Hey,
we've done 90.
It's still a classic.
95.
It's still a classic bad joke.
Okay. Well, all right. Here we go.
So a cowboy walks into a nice little neighborhood bar in Arizona, walks over and sits down at the bar, and the bartender comes over and says, "What do you have?" He says, "Pour me 3 beers." Bartender looks at him. All right, pours 3 beers. Says, "Thanks." So he sits there, right, and eating some peanuts and drinking 1 beer. Then he drinks the second beer, and then he drinks the final one. "Hey, what do I owe you?" The bartender comes over and gives him a little, bill or whatever. And he says, I don't want to be nosy or anything, but he says, I just thought I'd mention, you realize, of course, that when I pour a beer, right? I mean, the second I pour it in the glass and give it to you, he says, as time goes by, it starts to get flat. And he goes, if you just order them separately, you probably taste a little better. The cowboy looks down and laughs a little bit. Oh, no. That's not what this is about. He says, see, I have these 2 brothers, all right? And he said, we grew up together doing everything together. So he says, within the last 5 or 6 months, all of us have gotten jobs in different parts of the country. So here I am in Arizona, just started working down the street. I have a brother now who's in Colorado, and the other one's in Montana. Well, when we realized we were going to be separated, all right, we made a pledge to each other that anytime we walked into a bar, just to remember each other, we'd order 3 beers. And they're doing it, and I'm doing it. The bartender looks at him and says, well, isn't that sweet? That's awesome. Well, good for you. Cowboy says, well, you'll see me around. Like I said, I'm just working down the street. So sure enough, as time goes by, the cowboy'd stop in maybe once a week and order his 3 beers. Now, a few months go by, and the bartender and the rest of the clientele get to know the cowboy. And one day he comes in and he sits there, and the bartender goes over and says, the usual? He goes, no. He goes, give me 2. All right. The bartender pours him 2 beers and puts them there and walks over, right? And his dishwasher looks at the bartender. They both give each other, what's going on? Well, the cowboy finishes his beers, and as the bartender goes over to take his money, he goes, hey, Mac, he goes, he says, you've been a regular here and all this. He goes, I don't mean to pry, all right, but my condolences for your loss. The cowboy looks at him and goes, oh, no. He says, I haven't lost anybody. He says, no. He says, oh, no. He says, a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I became Baptists and I can't drink anymore.
Uh-huh. Right. Okay.
All right. So we're off and running.
Well, we better be, because we got a lot of ground to cover. In fact, we got to do it in 2 episodes because we're so far behind. We pumped out a lot of books since the last time we spoke online.
It blew my mind when I counted. I mean, literally, we've got 18 new titles since the last time we got together with all you loyal airmen. So what Rob and I have decided to do, obviously, is not to sit you here for, X number of hours, all right, which is never our intention when we started this show, all right, is we broke it up into half. This episode 95 it is, we're going to go through the first 9 that we released. Then we'll take a little break, a couple days or whatever. We're going to tape them back to back, but we'll release them separately. And we'll come back later for episode 96, and we'll recount the last 9 of those 18 and get you back all on board. And hopefully, if, the new internet that I've got working, thank you. All right, this show will get back to its regular basis again. And we're close to 100 episodes. We don't want to quit it now. So, all right,
no,
let's go.
In fact, we have an idea for something special to do with that 100th episode. Once we're still talking about it, but we have an idea. So hopefully we'll get to that. But okay. Go ahead. Let's see.
Why don't you start us off with the first of the 9? Let's go through it.
Okay. Here we go. Domino Lady, Volume 5. It features stories by Gene Warriors, George Takis, Gene Papa, and Fred Adams Jr. Warren Montgomery provided both the cover and all the interior illustrations, and he knocked it out of the park with this one.
Yeah.
In fact, if I remember right, he gave us 2 different versions of that cover, different color combinations, and I had to pick one of them. So he was very excited for this, and I think isn't he working on the next one as well?
Yes, he did.
I believe he is. Yeah, he's our new regular on Domino Lady. So
pretty much. I mean, the thing with what we've seen happen this year, and I'm thrilled by it. All right, is that we've gotten an artist on board who want to do both the illustrations and the covers, and are quite capable and talented to do that.
Yes, that's so much easier for us to deal with.
It frees up my hunting up different artists, okay, especially illustrated artists. At the same time, you production-wise, if we can turn in the stories and all the art at the same time and put a book together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes us get them out the door a little quicker that way. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So here we go. And this plays into this a little bit as well. Apocalypse 1952 by Darrell Purcell, an alternate world novel where the U.S. did not enter World War II and then fell to the Nazi Germany in 1952. The interiors are by a new artist for Airship 27, Jeff Dobrapol, which Rob and I met at this year's Windy City, a really great guy. And the author himself, Darrell Purcell, is an illustrator and did the cover for this book. So again, doing double duty really helps us out.
Yeah, a lot. And so the next one is a new genre for us. We've often talked about how we're doing pulp revival here. So the one of the genres we had not yet done was romance. So was it? I forget. Did R.A. Jones come to you, or did you go to him?
Oh no,
I think he came to us, didn't he?
Yeah.
So anyway, Shadows of Love by R.A. Jones is a sweeping romance adventure like those old Harlequin paperbacks. James Lyle provides both the gorgeous interior illustrations and the stunning cover. See, again, there's that combo of that one artist doing both the cover and the interiors. and that makes me a lot happier because I can assemble the book and get the cover and everything's ready. A lot of times I make it the cover first, so I put the cover together. Gotta wait for the interior illustrations. This time and in several other books, they're all in together, and that makes it much easier. It's easier for me to keep track of that way. Much easier.
Right. I got to tell you, when I first started promoting this, right, when R.A. Jones came, I've got an idea for a romance. And come on. I mean, I love R.A.'s work. He's such a talented writer. And so we went with it. Well, when I got the manuscript and started reading it, I was having a blast because it follows all the regular tropes all the way through, right? And anybody's ever read a Harlequin romance or anything, or even I dare even say watched, the television show, that one channel, Hallmark.
And the Hallmark channel.
They always have the beats. They always have the beats you follow. And so our raise is so romantic, all right? And I was promoting it online as our first ever bodice ripper.
Yes.
oh. And of course, Lyle's artwork is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so now we followed that up with Strong Adventures by Tyler Offhammer. Now, this features 3 stories starring a brand new pulp hero in the vein of Indiana Jones, Harvey Strong. All the artwork for these interiors and the cover by, again, another new artist to us, Ron Hill. This is his first work for Airship 27. And believe me, between the release of Strong Adventures, he's already done another couple of books for us, both interiors and covers.
He's good and he's fast. That's a definite plus for an illustrator. He's very good, especially on the interior work. Sometimes his cover work isn't as strong, but it's enough. It's enough, and it does a good job.
I don't know if you caught this or not, but I had seen it enough so that it impressed me to make a little note of it in one of my weekly Friday blogs, my flight log, right? In that his pencil work, his illustrations, pen and ink illustrations, right? Yeah. Reminded me a lot of one of the great Edgar Rice Burroughs artists, Roy G. Krenkel. Mm-hmm. And I can almost see that dynamic, body anatomy and movement and composition in Ron's work. It's very
I think you're right. Yeah, very, very much like that. He's got something that I struggle with. He's very good at spotting what we call spotting blacks, is to give the image more depth, and he's very adept at that. He's very good at that. That's at what we call spotting blacks, giving a dimension to everything in the illustration. That's harder to do with color. So he struggles with that just a little bit, but each one he's done for us has gotten that much better. I'm expecting some really great ones from him as we progress.
All right.
And he's still interested in doing a lot of work with us. So I'm thrilled to see his stuff come in. I really am.
So following suit, go ahead.
Okay, next. Let's see. You did Strong Adventures. Right. Okay.
Here we go.
I, Barbarian by Gary Lovisi. It's a collection of sword and sorcery tales in the vein of Robert E. Howard and Conan, obviously. Ron Hill, as we were just speaking, provides all the interiors and the cover. And again, each time we get more stuff in him, he's growing in strength as far as interest and I'm trying to find the word that I'm looking for here. But he's just getting better as he goes along. More confidence. That's the word.
That's the word. And I see it too with the cover work. All right.
Yeah.
He's done a book for us, which I don't know is going to be in this list. I believe it is, and that's Warrior Rigel, which was the wraparound.
Yeah, that might be next.
We'll talk about it next episode. Yeah. Next episode, but it just shows what you're talking about. All right. There's a stage of confidence in what Ron's doing in playing with color, as opposed to his strengths with inks and weight. And now as he uses color for his compositions in lieu of that, all right, he's getting comfortable with it. And
Yep.
it only bodes well for his future work for us. It's just going to
Absolutely. Or anywhere he decides to work. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, wow, a series that I absolutely love. Towers of Metropolis, Volume 2. And this features stories by Dexter Fabi, Carson Demmons, Hardin McFadden, and Gary Levisi. This is, again, our prequel stories, all stories taking place before the events in the classic science fiction silent movie Metropolis by Fritz Lang. All right. James Lyle, who we just mentioned from Shadows of Love, is a huge Metropolis fan and basically raised his hands that I want to do this book. All right. And so, again, did all the interior illustrations and another absolutely stunning cover. So this came out, and the story with this, which is fun for us, is this came out and piqued the interest of a couple of other writers who had a project in the wings. And when they saw what we did with Towers of Metropolis, all of a sudden I get this thing in my email, which we'll get to later. All right.
Yeah.
But again, I saw Metropolis at a 1970 World Science Fiction Convention in Boston. They were showing it in a big hall at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Wow. And I had stayed up all that night talking with fans and fellow, science fiction buffs, and I had never seen it. I had been, I'd heard about it all my young life. I'd seen clips from Forrest Ackerman's, famous Monsters of Filmland.
Right.
And so there I was sitting on the floor in this stadium, like with everybody else, this gymnasium room, right? And for the first time saw Metropolis. It so blew me away, Rob. I mean, considering the fact we're talking 1927, and the special effects were stunning. It's a brilliant film on every count, on story, on directing, on acting.
It was groundbreaking, definitely. Yeah. It was a groundbreaking film.
There are now really good Blu-ray editions, all right? And they've actually come with re-recording the original orchestra score that would have played in a movie hall when the film was shown.
And I believe they've also found some lost footage that they thought was gone forever. And they actually found some foreign film place. They found some of that footage and they've put it back in. So we've got almost all of the old film. I think there's still some missing scenes that I think they cut for certain theatrical releases. But we've got more of that film than we've ever had, and it's the closest to the original that it's ever been. I still have not seen it. It's on my list at Amazon for either a gift. Somebody could give it to me as a gift, or one of these days when I need to fill out an order to get the free shipping, I will order it for myself because I do want to see it. I
recommend it to not only science fiction fans, all right, but honestly to film buffs, people who love the history of movies, to see what was going on, in Germany at that time. And people tend to forget that prior to World War II, Germany was a hub of nouveau art and cinematography and films, to the point where a lot of our stars that we grew up in the 40s knowing after the war were expatriates who got out of Germany when the Nazis took over, all right, and became stars here or directors or whatever. And you go back to that pre-World War II era and you get some of these, silent film movies. They're amazing, absolutely fantastic. All right, you're next.
Okay, next up is another entry by our writer friend and artist friend, Daryl Purcell. This is called Geezers, which Ron and I can relate to. Probably more on Ron's end because he's an actual Vietnam vet, which is what this book is about. It's a novel about a group of Vietnam veterans living in a retirement facility who take on a secret communist cell in their California community. The author provides the interior illustrations while Adam Shaw turns in a beautiful cover.
Daryl is quite the guy. Let me tell you, all right, because I mean this comes from his own experience. He also was a Vietnam veteran, and I think Daryl was there the years after I'd come home, And I came home in 68. I think he was there in 70, 71, between those 2 year periods. And after he came back home, as we know, he went to work in California for a while and worked in design work and political cartoons and writing and whatever, until eventually moved to Arizona, where he lives now, and had gotten into self-publishing. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day, I get these books from this fellow vet, right, about these silent movie cowboys, all right, fighting monsters. Like the Hollywood Cowboy Detective Series. That's what it's called, all right?
Wow.
But trust me, it took me just reading one of them to say this was a kindred spirit. And so Daryl and I became really, really good friends. And out of the blue, one day, he writes, after a couple of years of reviewing his books, and he goes, I've got this idea for a bunch of old Vietnam vets, all right, who, caused the community all kinds of grief because they can't sit in the community without, getting into all kinds of trouble and whatever. And that was Geezers. And I read it and I went, oh yeah, okay, we got to do this. This is hilarious. And it's like you said, pulp is a wide umbrella. All right.
It is.
And
yeah.
It's what we try to do here at Airship 27. Hopefully provide something for all our loyal, airmen. If you look through our catalog on our website and whatever, I think we've got definitely a little bit of something for everybody. And if you're a little long in the tooth, like Rob and I, you might want to check out Geezers, all right? Because it really is a ton of fun. Okay, buddy?
Okay. I think I just did Geezers, didn't I? So it's your turn.
No, it is my turn. Excuse me.
All right. It's all right.
Yeah, okay. And here comes the end of the first half of all this output. And this one, again, was a lot of fun. Count Rochefort in the 7 Circles of Satan by our dear friend Frank Chinlet. No, it's Childiner. That's how you say it, Childiner.
Well, you've got it misspelled here on the stuff too. But that's okay. As long as we pronounce it right.
Frank's been with Airship 27 since it launched, let me tell you, okay? I mean, he's done tons of stuff for us in the past. It's a swashbuckling adventure that takes place in the world of Alexander Dumas and the Three Musketeers, that kind of thing. It's post-Three Musketeers, okay? And artist John Gallagher, a British artist, quite, fittingly in its own right, provides the interior illustrations with Rob doing the cover, which I absolutely loved as well. And so did Frank. Frank lost his wife a little over a year ago now, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's been over a year now.
It really, was really rough for him for a long time. But he's such a gifted writer. He's such a creative guy, right? And it was really, really great to see him get back to writing, back to producing new material, new work. And now he's back at the top of his game. And it's like every other month or so, he's got a new project under work and whatever. Bravo to Frank. I guess it's filling that void that nothing will ever fill, okay? But at least his creativity gives him a purpose, all right? And then kudos to the entire New Pulp community who supported him, who prayed for him, and wished him all the best in the world. So there you go. And those were the first 9 of 18 that we released, all right? Since what, back in May, Rob, was the last time we did a show?
Yeah, I don't know the exact, it sounds like April or May is the last time we did a podcast. It's been that long. And we probably need to talk a little bit about what part of the problem was, is that your internet access was a little spotty. We would try to do it in the morning when you possibly had a little more bandwidth, and yet we were still running into troubles. And I think you started to really run into some difficulties and started looking into some other possibilities. And now you've got, is it a Wi-Fi? Is that what it's called? Or is it just a Wi-Fi hotspot? It works off a cell tower.
Yeah, it's a Verizon hotspot, I guess you'd call it. Or, it's their version of a modem. All right. Okay. Whereby it's cellular. It's picking up, from a tower. And literally the minute we bought this and brought it into the house a week ago, right? I just basically pulled out all the plugs I had to Comcast, all right, and the cable and all that good stuff, and even their Wi-Fi service, and hooked up this box to my PC. It's the only thing I hook it up to my PC and the power, plug. And all of a sudden I pull up my PC and there's this dedicated network, which is exactly what it is. All right.
Boom. It just
Yeah.
works.
And I am back online. So, I mean, I was ecstatic. I was elated. All right. I mean, it's been a frustrating year for me. Not only just with, with not being able to do the show, which we have so much fun doing, but at the same time, I couldn't get online to do anything, to check out Facebook, social media, nothing. All right. And it's like you say, we had gone last year when it got that bad. We had literally stopped in to Verizon and I bought one of these little hotspot things. It's like a pack of a cigarette. And so, whenever it got that bad, when I had to be on for at least 5 or 10 minutes, I'd put the hotspot next to my PC. Right. And it would give me that network to do what I could. But I couldn't stay on that forever. It would heat way too fast and didn't give me all the time I needed. So it was a frustrating situation. And Valerie's the one who said, well, Ron, if they have the technology for this little hot box, why can't they make a big one? And I said, well, I don't know if it's working. So she says, look, let's go to the local Verizon office last week. Right? We walk in and we start talking to the young clerk, a kid named Josh, really, really smart kid, right? He's listening to us and he's nodding. And he goes, so Valerie wanted to know if there was a way we could buy more space, time, whatever on the little box. He goes, why do you want to do that? He said, for an extra $5, I can give you a big, cell tower modem thing and you've got complete internet. And so again, though, we said, you can do that? He said, oh, wait a minute. He gets behind his PC. He said, what's your address? Yeah, important.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we give him our address. He click it. Yep. You're in range. The last tower we put up. So we were off and running. I realized what he was saying. So you'll get a kick out of this. As we're making out all the paperwork and everything, right? And we're adding it to my Verizon account because I have a phone. That's my account, Verizon, right? We're talking, right? And he goes, I can't wait to get one of these myself. So Valerie looks at him. She goes, you don't have one? He said, I can't. She goes, what? He said, I live on the other side of town. There's no cell tower. So we both looked at him, right? He goes, oh, yeah. He said, get home from work, have dinner. He said, go in my office, start to work. My wife goes in the living room, turn on the TV, right? And all is well until my 10-year-old son comes in with his video game and we lose everything.
He eats up all the bandwidth.
So I says to him, so what do you want? He goes, Comcast. So he's counting the days. All he is doing, Josh is counting the days till they get us, because he said eventually this whole town, this whole county is going to have cell towers all over it. All right. So yeah, I'm going into week 2. Here we are doing a podcast, and I applaud Verizon. I know. What do you got? You have
I have. And while all this was going on, we had a possibility of getting fiber optic cable. Now I live 6 miles from the closest city, so we were using they had DSL, which is the cable that runs through the telephone line, and it was pretty good. But occasionally it would have problems. And, when we started adding more and more things to what we were doing in the house, we needed more speed or more bandwidth. So, and about probably back in April or May, these 2 trucks were coming through our neighborhood and they were burying cable. And I was jumping up and down going, oh, we're going to get fiber optic cable. And by golly, we did. And there's two sets of wires going through there. There's 2 companies that have put in cable out in the county. And I think part of that is Missouri, I think, has a program where it's incentivizing these companies to put cable in, to fiber optic cable out in rural areas. And so they got that going. And then we started talking to the 2 companies that were doing it. And one of them is called Socket, and it's a local company, and they've been around for about 15 years, maybe a little longer, and their customer service top notch. We've got a gigabyte worth of speed coming into the house. We could run a bunch of different stuff all at once here and not have a bit of problem. And we had about 3 or 4 weeks after it was installed, the system completely went down. We went, okay, something severed a line or something's happened. So we called them, and within 45 minutes, somebody was out checking it out. Now, remember, we're outside the city. We're a good 20 minutes away. So they jumped on this immediately, came out, started examining things, couldn't find the problem right away. And then they figured out it was a certain distance from the house, which was probably at the junction box, which is across the road from where we live. So they said, well, that's going to take a technician that's not available right now. We're not going to be able to get this to you until tomorrow. But I tell you what, and I didn't ask for this. He immediately says, we'll give you a credit on your bill for the day or so that you're going to be off. You know, they came the next day. About halfway through the day, the two guys were here for almost 3/4 of a day, and they got it all fixed, and everything popped right back up again. That's exactly what it was. There was a break in the junction box, which was across the highway, and we're back up and running, and it's wonderful. No spinning when we're watching. Streaming on TV.
Yeah. All too familiar with that.
Right? Oh yeah, I'll bet you are.
Well, so, this was, again, this was a bonus for us because we hadn't given this any thought. All right, but we were having the same issues across the hall from my office is our bedroom. All right, and the TV is still on Wi-Fi Comcast. Right, and so the TV in the living room, so is the TV downstairs, and this and that. So we trying to watch a Red Sox game and lose it halfway through an inning. See that little spinning circle? The Wi-Fi isn't enough. All right.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, working 2 or 3 days working with this box here in my office, right across the hall, a little tiny hall, right? And I'm thinking, right? So second or third night, I said to Valerie, right? We sat there getting ready to watch the Red Sox. And I says, pull up the menu. She goes, why? I says, I'm curious if you're picking up the signal from the Verizon box. Well, she pulls it up, and there it is.
Yeah, because you're right across the hall.
So she clicks on it, right? And it basically comes up, right? The information and wanted a pass key. So we use the same code I have on this. This is the code, right? She puts it in. We get out of it. Now we're watching television, the games, no problems at all, because we're doing it off this little box. It was like the bonus, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the same thing here. Thing here.
So
okay. So that's why it took us so long to get back online.
Yeah, and I want to add to everybody listening. I've been doing this, and you know it too. I've gotten the word out because of my dissatisfaction. We were Comcast, customers for over 30 years, Rob, if not longer, right? But as of now, I've got a new Gmail account, and I'm transferring all my contacts, all my emails to that account. I've sent out hundreds of notices. I'm going to keep doing that. We're basically going to keep those emails until the end of the year. At the end of the year, because right now, my daughter-in-law, who runs a landscaping business with my son here, all right, in the house, is using Comcast Business and all that, all right? But by the end of the year, both Valerie and I are going to get out of that whole program completely. And all I'll be doing is the Verizon for my phone, for television, for the internet, and that Gmail account will be all my contact with people. So if you're one of those people that hasn't gotten it, drop me an email, please. I've still got the Comcast email. I'll have it to the end of the year, and I'll give you my new Gmail account.
Yeah, it reminds me I need to update everything on our website, too, that has your email. I think I've done a couple of those. But with an address change, that segues into an apology that I need to issue to one of our writers. Because Dexter Fabi ordered copies of Towers of Metropolis and one of the other books that he worked on. And I ordered the books, and he needed them for a signing. I don't remember whether it was a little convention or whether it was a signing. And he ordered them only, I think it was like 2.5 weeks out, that's really, really tight. But I put the order in. Amazon said, yeah, it can be. It'll get there by a certain date. So anyway, Dexter is just beside himself, waiting. You know, he can't wait for it to come in. Finally, the day comes when it's supposed to arrive, and I get an email from him. He says, "Where are my books?" And I went, "Well, Amazon tells me they were delivered." So I put up the picture that they send along with the showing that it's been delivered. And he goes, "That's not my porch." Yeah, I sent him to the wrong address. It's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me, because the bad thing is that usually when I send out an invoice, I give the address that I put on the Amazon order. In this case, I was so hurried to get it out that I used the one in my bookkeeping software, which was his correct address. So that was what was on the invoice. But at Amazon, I had two different addresses for him. One of them, which is like 6 years old, from when he bought books from me way back. So when I was quickly typing it in at Amazon, what comes up? The first one, the old one. And I didn't double check it. So I ended up refunding his money for his order, but he didn't get them for his signing. So Dexter, if you're listening, man, I am so sorry that happened. But I've learned a lesson from this. I'm going to double check every single time I send out an invoice from now on because of this. But I screwed things up for him, so I apologize, and in front of him and everybody else. You know, I'm human. I make mistakes. Unfortunately, this one I couldn't recover from. So,
okay. Hey, look. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up before we get to your joke?
I can't think of anything at the moment. And of course, we have another episode if I do think of something else. But no, just apologizing to Dexter for that screw up that I made. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I want to bring up just one thing.
Okay.
Because I got my copy of this yesterday. We've announced it enough times. But this is Gary Cotto's new graphic novel, his retelling of the King Arthur legend. It is awesome. It is a really great story. I'd already read it, beforehand, and I wanted a copy for my own, collection. I gave it to Valerie last night, and she read right through it immediately, and she was blown away. Gary takes a really different take on a legend. He does. Probably 100 times. He's such a gifted artist, and storyteller. So it's available at Amazon. It's called The Eternal Sword, and I can't recommend it enough.
Exactly.
Okay, amigo.
Yeah, very good.
It's
all right.
Your
So
turn.
here we go. All right. I had a neighbor tell me this story the other day. He says, "I mowed the lawn today, and after doing so, I sat down and had a cold beer. The day was really quite beautiful, and the drink facilitated some deep thinking. My wife walked by and asked me what I was doing, and I said, nothing. The reason I said nothing, instead of just saying, just thinking, is because she then would have asked, about what? At that point, I would have had to explain that men are deep thinkers about various topics, which would lead to other questions. Finally, I pondered an age-old question. Is giving birth more painful than getting kicked in the crotch? Women always maintain that giving birth is way more painful than a guy getting kicked in the crotch. But how could they know? Well, after another beer and some more heavy deductive thinking, I have come up with an answer to that question. Getting kicked in the crotch is much more painful than having a baby. And even though I obviously couldn't really know, here is the reason for that conclusion. A year or so after giving birth, a woman will often say, it might be nice to have another child. But you never hear a guy say, I think I would like another kick in the crotch. He saes, I rest my case. Time for another beer, then maybe a nap.
That pure logic. I love it. All right, there you go. Right, can't go wrong with pure logic. Oh, All right. Hey, look, we've done really well here. All right. We're ahead of the curve. We've done the first half. And again, like I said, I don't want to belabor all you loyal airmen who hopefully are coming back to join us on these podcasts. So we're going to do as we dictated. We're going to say sayonara until we see you again for episode 96, where we'll wrap this all up.
So this is Airship 27's Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And Ron Fortier is so happy to say, down ship.